The ant in Dove.
It was a hot day in the countryside. Timmy and Ant were searching for some water. After walking around for some time, she came to a spring, but Timmy had to climb up a blade of grass to reach the spring. Just as she started to climb, she slipped accidentally and fell in the water. Timmy struggled hard to stay afloat and prevent herself from drowning. She looked around for help, but there was no one. At that very moment, Timmy was spotted by Dovey, the dove. Dovey immediately plucked a leaf from a tree nearby and threw it on the waterbed near Timmy. Timmy managed to get on the leaf and find his way towards the riverbank to safety. Timmy looked at Dovey and thanked him for saving her life. Just then, a hunter nearby, hiding below a tree, was about to shoot Dovey. To save her friend's life, Timmy immediately bit him on the heel. The hunter missed his shot, and Dovey, thanking Timmy back, quickly flew off to his nest.
The bear in the bees.
Boomy the bear came across a log where a swarm of bees had nested to make their honey. As he snooped around, a single little bee flew out of the log to protect the group. Knowing that Boomy would eat all the honey, the little bee stung him sharply on the nose and flew back into the log. This angered Boomy beyond words, and he swatted at the log with his big claws, determined to destroy the nest of bees inside. This only alerted the bees, and quick as a wink, the entire swarm of bees flew out of the log and began to sting Boomy from head to toes. Boomy saved himself by running to and diving into the nearest pond. He had learned his lesson the hard way that day. It is better to bear a single injury in silence than to bring about 1,000 by reacting in anger.
The boy who cried wolf.
Rammy, the shepherd, loved his cattle. He used to take them for their daily walks up the mountain. One such clumsy morning, he thought of playing a prank on the villagers nearby. He shouted wolf and cried for help. His voice echoed across the hills. Suddenly, a few locals from the village nearby turned up. Rami burst out into laughter. The villagers, angry at his prank and mischief, walked away. But danger awaited him next day. It was a sunny morning, and Rami had come up the hill as usual. After an hour, suddenly, there was a panic among the sheep. A wolf had indeed turned up that day to Rami's dismay. Rami, terrified, started shouting for help, but none responded this time. Rami ran for his life, having learnt his lesson. Lying can invite even more trouble.
The crow in the pitcher.
It was a hot summer day. Coo, a thirsty crow, was looking for water everywhere. Finally, he found a pitcher. But to his dismay, there was little water in it. Though the pitcher was high enough and Coo had a narrow neck, still he failed to drink from it. Coo was about to give up when an idea struck him. Picking up some small pebbles lying around, he dropped them into the pitcher one by one. With each pebble, the water rose a little higher until at last it was near enough to the brim. He smiled to himself and happily quenched his thirst.
The dog in its reflection.
Jim, the dog, was loitering around for quite a while for food, and it indeed turned out to be a lucky day for him. Jim finally found a piece of bone to his surprise, lying nearby on the ground. He immediately picked it up to hurry back home so that he can relish his food in peace. As Jim was crossing a narrow footbridge, he happened to look down at the stream below and saw his own reflection on the silent, clear water. Jim paused for a while as a thought crossed his mind. Is it some other dog carrying a bone much larger than his? Without giving it much thought, Jim barked at the dog in the river, dropping his bone in the process. He realized his mistake and learned his lesson. It is very foolish to be greedy.
The fox in the stork.
Sly, the fox, and Petty, the stork, were on visiting terms and seemed very good friends. Sly invited Petty to dinner one day. But for a joke, put nothing before her but some soup in a very shallow dish. Sly easily lapped up the soup to his heart's content. But Petty could only wet the end of her long bill in it. "I am sorry," said Sly. "The soup is probably not in your fate." "No need for apologies," said Petty. "I hope you will return this visit and come and dine with me tomorrow." Sly accepted the invitation and headed for Petty's place the next day. When they were seated at table, Sly found that the dinner was contained in a very long-necked jar with a narrow mouth, in which he could not insert his snout. As Petty finished her meal, Sly sat there starving. He indeed learned his lesson the hard way. One bad turn deserves another.